So what exactly is a debit card? How does it work? And why should I use one? Well, all of those questions we're going to dive into today on the Rachel Cruze Show. I love taking ideas when it comes to money, very simple ones, very complex ones, and just break them down. So this one is about the debit card. Some of you know exactly what it is. You're like, I'm a pro. Don't worry, Rachel. Some of you are like, yeah, I have a couple of questions about it because I've heard some stuff. And then others of you are thinking, yeah, I don't know the difference between debit card, credit card, nothing. I don't know what's going on. So no matter what camp you're in, we're gonna break it down for you. So what is a debit card exactly? Well, it's a little plastic card, looks kind of like a credit card, and it lets you make purchases with your own money. So it acts just like cash, and when you use a debit card, the money comes directly out of your checking accounts. It's an easy way to pay for things without going into debt. It's a beautiful thing. So where can I use a debit card? Anywhere, basically anywhere. Now, some places only take cash, and if that's the case, then you gotta use cash, but everywhere else, usually anywhere they accept credit cards, you can use a debit card. That's right. So if you're tired of debt in your life, you guys, usually the credit card is the one thing that's hanging around with people. Get rid of it and use a debit card. So how do debit cards work? Well, when you're at the store, Walgreens, Target, wherever you want to say, just imagine you're there and you go to pay and you put your card in either for the chip or you swipe it. Two options are going to pop up, credit or debit. If you hit debit, what's going to happen is your PIN number is going to arise there on the screen. And you're gonna have to put in your PIN number. Your PIN number is a secret little number that you've set up for your card. You put it in to identify, yes, this is me, and then the transaction's done. And what happens from there is it goes from Walgreens or Target straight to your bank, and the money comes out of your account instantly, basically instantly. Now, if you hit credit, you're not using a credit card. Remember, it's a debit card. But what's gonna happen is the retailer is gonna say, okay, I'm gonna run this transaction as a credit card transaction, if you will. Meaning it's gonna go from the retailer to Visa or MasterCard or whatever company there is in that little logo of your card, and then it's gonna go to your bank. So you kind of have a third party there, and the good thing about that is that if fraud comes up or something goes wrong, that middle protection, that Visa or MasterCard is going to protect you just like a credit card would, but you're using your debit card. So again, it is still your money coming out, and if you click credit, you're probably gonna sign your name, but it's just the way that it's processed, that transaction. That's the difference. Honestly, I kind of do both. Sometimes I feel like putting my PIN number in. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I feel like signing my name. I don't know. So it kind of just depends. I usually, most of the time, hit credit just because I like the idea of that extra little safety of that company there in the middle, just in case something happens. But again, some places will only let you put your PIN number in if you have a debit card. Depends on the retailer, but usually you get two options, so you can decide which one you want to choose. What do debit cards cost? Well, most debit cards are included with your bank membership, but some banks will charge a fee. So account maintenance fees are a thing, and these are typically charged if you don't keep a certain balance in your accounts, have a certain number of transactions, or enough direct deposits that go into your accounts. Now, some banks waive their fees, but it can kind of be a hassle, so just make sure you read the fine print. There's also ATM fees. So if you go to the ATM machine to get some cash out, and the ATM machine is not in the same network as your bank, you will be charged a fee. So make sure you know, and trust me, the fees are a lot higher when you're out of the country, so be aware of that. There's also transaction fees. So some banks charge you a transaction fee for you using your PIN number, like we talked about, right? So if you use your PIN number, some banks will charge you a little fee for that. But if you run it as a credit, then that fee goes to the retailer instead. Again, check your bank's fine print to be sure of what you're dealing with and you know what's going on. Are there rewards with debit cards? Depends. To be honest, they're trying to get in the game, some places are like, yeah. But I'll be honest, there are not a ton of rewards, because with credit cards, that's where banks make their money. So if everyone's using debit cards, banks aren't making a lot, so there probably aren't gonna be a lot of rewards. When you use a credit card though, that's when they make a lot of money, because people are like, ooh, I want rewards, so I'm gonna use a credit card. And then they go and they spend money, sometimes money they don't have, and they can't afford the bill at the end of the month, and then they keep racking up credit card debt, like $16,000 worth. It's the average in America right now. Yep. And usually people get suckered into that because of the rewards, and they're like, oh, that's what I want. So do debit cards have rewards? Some of them do. Not always like the best of the most exciting, but they're out there, and if they have them, that's great. You can take advantage of that. But don't fall for the fact I want rewards when I make purchases, so I'm gonna do a credit card instead. Trust me, it's not a good plan. Not a good plan. So the bottom line is just use a debit card. Doesn't matter if it's with rewards or not. If they have them, you can take advantage of those. All right, let's talk about some myths around debit cards. Myth number 1, you can't rent a car with a debit card. Well, this is not true. You can rent a car with a debit card, but it depends on the company, okay? Because there are some rental car companies that will not let you rent a car with a debit card. You have to do your research. You have to know your options, okay? And some of them, they're gonna make you show your return flight. Some of them are gonna make you show insurance. Some of them are gonna make you show a bill. I mean, there's some stuff there. So if you're gonna travel and rent a car, call ahead of time and know, okay, what do they have? And then call around too. Winston and I, we found one rental car company that works great because they take our debit card and we just do it, and we travel all over, and we're great. We're not freaked out by it because it works, but you have to do your research beforehand. Trust me. Make sure you call and you know. Now, rental car companies will take some money out of your account as a deposit, and then when you return the car, then they'll give the money back to you. So you have to make sure, if you are traveling on vacation, that if a certain amount of money is pulled out of your account to be held for the rental car company, to make sure you have enough money in your checking account for the rest of the vacation. So again, this is to plan it out. Look ahead, okay? Just plan. Number 2, the second myth is that debit cards aren't safe. Debit cards are just as safe as credit cards. If your debit card is backed up by a company like Visa or MasterCard, again, that little logo on your card, you will have the same protections as a credit card. And you wanna make sure you let your bank know though if you've lost your debit card. If your wallet's been stolen or you lost it, you can't find it, it's important to call your bank as soon as possible and say, okay, my debit card, I can't find it, and then they're gonna cancel it. And this is really important though, because as the user reports fraud, the card holder is not liable. So you must watch your transactions and look to see, okay, because if you report fraud before the transactions are made, then you have zero liability. But if you wait 2 days to report, then your liability is $50. If you wait 60 days, it could be up to $500 on what's spent on your card. So again, this is one reason to look at your bank account, look at your transactions. The third myth is I can't use a debit card because I need a credit score. Oh man, you guys, this is a big one because listen, I get it. People say, well, if I don't have a credit card, how am I building my credit? Or if I don't have debt, how am I building my credit? And the answer is you're not. Because the reason to have a credit score is to go into more debts. And we've talked about in other videos that you can still get a mortgage without a credit score. I get that. That's the one type of debt I will not yell at you for. But this idea to just go and just build up your credit score, and that's the reason you have a credit card, again, you're using your credit score to go into more debt. So with a debit card, you will not be building a credit score because you're not using debt to do it when you use a debit card. And I'm telling you though, after talking to people who win with money, they are not winning with money because they have a high credit score, or they have a bunch of airline miles or Discover points, like all this stuff, okay? That's not how people build wealth. People build wealth because they take the time, they're intentional with their money, they save up, they pay for things, they're wise with what they're doing, okay? That is how you build wealth. So this whole idea that we're gonna just worship at the altar of the credit score is insane. It really, really is. So get it out of here. Myth number 4, I beat the system and get the rewards from my credit card. We kind of mentioned this earlier, but people go and they love to get a credit card because they love to get all the rewards. But what ends up happening is you end up spending more money, statistically speaking, when you spend with a credit card versus a debit card in cash. Because when you spend with your own money, literally your brain, the pain sensors in your brain light up because you know my money is leaving. When you spend someone else's money, you just spend the bank's money on a credit card, there's no emotional connection there, okay? So you're going to end up spending more, I promise. And when you actually look at the rewards and do the math, it's not really worth it. People are like, 1% cash back. That means you're gonna have to spend $30,000 to get $300 back, people. Okay? Like, it's crazy. So people will, it's a mind game, you guys. They know credit card companies are smart. They play the psychological game because they know if you think, well, I'll be getting some cash back, I'll just add another shirt, in here and buy something else, or I'll pick up everyone's tab because I'm gonna get some cash back. $30,000 you gotta spend for $300. Oh, it's so sad to me. And the other thing that I hate about this is I'm like, credit card companies are not like, oh, we're so generous and we love you all and we're just gonna give you some money and give you some free stuff because we are just like really good in our hearts. That's not why they're doing it. Do you know why they're doing it? Because they're making like billions of dollars off of people. People that can't pay back their credit card bills. And when you can't pay off your credit card bill every month, you get charged interest. And then you get charged fees. And you end up with a big bill and some interest you gotta pay on that big bill, and you end up in this cycle, and they make so much money. And they make all this money and they're like, oh, we're so generous. We're gonna give some of it back to people that if you spend more money, we're gonna give you some of this money. It's crazy. So all the rewards that you're getting, people, it's because people are terrible at managing their money. That's why you get the rewards. So I'm out. Not messing with it. All right, myth number 5, I treat my credit card like a debit card. So you're like, well, Rachel, no, I just, I pay it off every month and that's what I do. Okay, do people pay their credit cards off every month? Is that true? Sure, absolutely. People do that. Yes. But what happens is you get sucked in this game that you're playing, right? It's like you're trying to trick the credit card companies and you're trying to say, okay, well, I'm gonna still pay it off every month, get the rewards, and be okay. But again, what you're not realizing is still the amount of extra money that you're paying because you're using a credit card. When you use a debit card and you have your own money and you're budgeting like we talk about, and all this is in play, you are so in control of what's going on. Like, you guys, you work hard. You go to work, you pay taxes, you sit in traffic. You do a lot to make money. And when that paycheck comes in, I want you to be so diligent with that paycheck because I want it to go as far for you as possible. But when you don't live on a plan, on a budget, and you're not using your own money, you're using a credit card instead, what happens is money just starts disappearing here and there. And it may not feel like that big of a deal at first because you're like, oh, it's just, maybe $30 here, $100 there. And it's just like, well, I'm just gonna. What ends up happening is a lifetime of that habit, you could have been out of debt, building wealth, literally becoming a millionaire. Like, you could be doing so much with this money, but it's just kind of this approach of, it's okay, I'm smarter than all of them. So when I tell you that there's psychology behind the fact that when you use other people's money, you will spend more, okay? So you will get ahead so much faster when you just use a debit card. I'm telling you, just use a debit card, because when you swipe it or you enter it into your phone, you know immediately when you press enter, that money's gone. It's leaving. And there's something so true when you have that emotion that and you second guess and you think through and you plan and you look. It's so good, you guys. Like, that is a healthy way to live, okay? So I'm telling you, debit cards does all of that for you without you even having to think about it. That's what I love about it. Now, some of the benefits that I love with debit cards, again, no interest. When you go to buy something, you pay for it, and then you're done. And that's it. There's no bills, there's no penalties, there's no interest that's being charged to you. Nothing. Like, it's that easy. Number 2, I love it because it makes you stick to the budget. I love being able to know exactly what's going on. And when I'm planning ahead for the next month and I'm in that month and we're doing it and those transactions come in, we can plug them in on our EveryDollar app, and it's just this you're on it. Like you are on and you know exactly what's going on. You're able to say, okay, I can track my money. I know how much is left in each category. It helps you stay on pace. Because remember, this is your hard-earned money, okay? You never have to worry about going into debt. You just swipe it and you go. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. All right, I hope this deep dive into debit cards was helpful. But I know, you guys, I know it's tough, and I know that it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. And I'll be truthful, maybe in some cases, it may not feel like that big of a deal. When you actually look at the science, you actually look at the math, you actually look at your spending habits, you look at all of this, I wanna set you up to win. And setting you up to win by using a debit card is just one of those small things you can do in life that actually helps you without you having to put in all this extra effort and work into it on the back end. The debit card makes it clean, it makes it simple. You're using your money, you're not going into debts, you're not fooling with all the crazy games out there. You are actually in control of your money. And I can guarantee that you could probably save $300 a whole lot faster than getting that 1% cash back on the $30,000 that you spend. I'm still stuck on that. I still just can't shake that math. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. But again, my hope for you always, 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 always is that you take control of your money and create a life you love.